Hello there, and welcome to Getaway and our wild adventure through Alaska. So far, we have been absolutely blessed with everything from whales to glaciers galore, but I still have a couple more things on my bucket list. I've always wanted to know, what is it like to cross the line into the Arctic Circle? Keep your fingers crossed for me. And also, what is the Yukon really like, that wild mountainous territory in the northwestern part of Canada? Well, this is Getaway. This is where we tick bucket list wishes off every day. So join me for the ride. Fairbanks is the final stop on our scenic Alaska, including the Arctic Circle adventure, before we head east to the Yukon. Fairbanks is the largest city in the interior of Alaska and built mostly on the gold rush fever that hit the town in the early 1900s. Reliving those glory days is all part of the Gold Dredge 8 experience, where you will travel in an old rail carriage through this former mine site.
They would use these water cannons to absolutely blast away all of the overburden. If you turn your attention to the distant horizon of that tree line way over there, that is the original elevation of this very valley that we're sitting in right now.
The train ride delivers us to Gold Dredge 8, a national engineering landmark described as both a floating workhorse and a mechanical gold pan.
For as big as these are, the dredges did three very simple things. They chewed up gold-bearing gravel, they swallowed gold, and they spit out rocks.
Then we get our very own chance to strike it rich. I'm pretty fascinated with gold and its ties to Alaska, because if you think about it, gold has never been more valuable than it is right now, and Alaska has such a close tie. From the moment the Russians sold it to the United States, they have hit that gold jackpot, and most of the current successful mines in the US are right here in Alaska. It has such a juicy history. Now, I don't know about my luck here today. They have heated the water for me though. Let's see how we go. Tony, I don't think I did too badly. I'm a little bit excited. How much do you think is in there?
That's some nice looking gold there. That's above average.
Is it?
I'd say you'd have over $15 worth of gold there.
Why, thank you, Tony.
Not bad for about 10 minutes of work, huh?
Exactly. Fairbanks is also the launching pad for our scenic and rich Arctic Circle adventure, taking us to a place very few people ever get to experience.
We will be flying north of the Arctic Circle at 66 degrees 33 minutes north. We cross the Arctic Circle and then everybody on board instantly becomes an intrepid Arctic traveler.
Alaska is a vast state with such limited access to roads that aircraft ownership rates are one of the highest in the world.
Because we have so few roads, the people who rely on airplanes for travel are always glad to see you. So you show up in a community that has only airplane access, and the whole community comes out and they all help unload the airplane.
Our planned route was to land in a tiny little town called Wiseman, but fog and low cloud mean that instead we are touching down in Bettles. It's just as remote and fascinating, and more importantly, it is within the Arctic Circle. Oh, well, this is not quite what I had envisioned. I got up this morning and I dressed for the Arctic Circle, which all my life I had an image in my mind that it would be covered in ice and there'd be polar bears frolicking in the distance and natives would be coming out of igloos to offer me reindeer sausage. This isn't like that. Welcome to Bettles. Population, not many. Home to a lodge, a national parks office, an airfield, and a sprinkling of homes. This is about as remote as a village in Alaska gets. Do you get a lot of people like me who get off the plane and go, where are the igloos?
Yeah, absolutely we do. We get all kinds of different people up here, and everybody expects something different.
There are obvious challenges to living in what officially is Alaska's smallest town. So what happens if you run out of toothpaste?
Well, in my case, I just ran out of toothpaste and I had to call my mom back in Massachusetts. And it was even hard to come by a phone. Yeah, it's hard to come by a phone up here.
Because is there no service? I haven't even tried.
No service, yeah. No phone service, no internet, nothing.
How do you cope?
I love it. I love it. I wanted to get away from it all when I was coming up here, so.
Why do you think people are so drawn to the Arctic Circle? Is it a magnetic thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I think just the remoteness of it and, you know, people like me who want both an adventure and to experience something, you know, totally different than the lower 48. Like, there's 28 people in this town and probably not another person until you get to Fairbanks, 150 miles south.
From the wilds of Alaska and the Arctic Circle, our North American adventure has now delivered us to the Yukon. This remote part of the world in the far northwest of Canada is part of Scenic's Winter Wonders journey. The Yukon is having a moment, and I think you can see why. But up until now, when most travellers have come to Canada, they've gone for the big name places like Banff or Vancouver, maybe over to Ontario or Quebec, but not anymore. There's a new breed of traveller coming through, a cultural explorer, and they want the real wilderness. And look at this, the Yukon is like nature's Disneyland. Now, most people who come to the Yukon want to get out into the wilderness, but before you can do that, you have to arrive here in Whitehorse. Whitehorse is kind of like your stepping stone. This is the hub. You will absolutely love it. But the first thing that you see when you arrive is this, the SS Klondike. Isn't she pretty? Whitehorse is the capital and only official city of the Yukon. At its entrance, the SS Klondike stands as a reminder of a bygone era, a time when this city was the major transportation hub for the entire region. So this ship had to supply the entire Yukon area as they had to prepare for an 8-month winter. Imagine that. And the whole ship was powered by this boiler, steam all the way. But I just have to show you the logs here, 4 feet long, and one man every 30 seconds had to throw a log into the boiler. He had a 4-hour shift. He couldn't stop at all, hence the toilet seat up on the wall, or what they call the honey pot. But imagine the strength required. No steroids, no Red Bull. Not about there. It's about there. As fascinating as the centre of Whitehorse is, it's actually the surrounds of the city that most visitors come to see, to experience. It's the nature, and more specifically, the wild creatures that call this part of the world home. Yukon Wildlife Preserve is a 300-hectare property, providing travellers like you and I a smorgasbord of wildlife opportunities. You know, what is wonderful for me as a traveller is if I don't have a lot of time, I feel like I could just tick off this checklist of all the wildlife superstars here.
Yeah, indeed. Guaranteed Wildlife, you have animals that are living here year-round, and people often come to the north and they might think that they will see them on their drive, and that's not always the case because we've got a huge landscape. And so coming to the Wildlife Preserve, you're guaranteed to view some of these wild animals and in their natural habitats, great for photography and as
Children?
well, children learning, connecting and engaging with the animals, the landscape and the people, which really makes the north so unique.
To protect the animals that live here, and let them live out their days peacefully. It's not the place for predators, so there's no bears to be found here in these particular woods. But they do have many other intriguing natives.
So that is what we would call a reindeer.
Yeah, in North America we call them caribou, but Eurasia often refers to them as reindeer. Kind of the same, except for reindeer fly.
And have shiny red noses. I had no idea the size of the antlers. They're seriously heavy. When do they drop off?
They'll drop off in our winter, so in December or so. You can see it's covered in this soft, fuzzy velvet material,
beautiful.
brown, and that's nourishing its growth. It's protecting the antler as well. And then they'll start to shed that off really soon here, and it'll become hard and like a bone.
The history of Whitehorse goes way beyond its beloved gold rush days. But what the miners did unearth, other than precious gold of course, is remains and treasures from the Ice Age, when the area was a subcontinent known as Beringia. A vast collection of these artefacts are now on display at the Reindeer Centre, just outside of the city. Well, welcome back to you, to Canada's wild northwest. We are exploring the territory of the Yukon as part of Scenic's Winter Wonders journey, and we have reached the area's most intriguing town.
Dawson City is in the heart of the Gold Rush region, and I'd been warned that when I arrived it would feel like I was stepping back in time. And sure enough, you do get here and it's as though you're on a movie set. It's as though Clint Eastwood is about to rock up in chaps. But I've also discovered a town with a very youthful, creative energy. There is great music here, great food, and it's like the locals of today are being repaid for honouring what happened in yesteryear.
Dawson City is a short flight, or a 6-hour drive, from the Yukon's capital of Whitehorse, close to the Alaskan border.
Adding to the fact that you feel like you're on the set of an old Western movie is that none of the roads here are paved. It's all dirt roads, and that's because the ground here is permafrost. It's all completely frozen underneath. And these buildings show you what happens when you put a heated building on top of those roads. Go over there and can you see what happens? They've left these unrestored, and it shows you how everything folds in on itself. The locals call these the kissing buildings.
Other than tourism, the main industry still is mining.
It's the only gold rush town in the world that I'm aware of that's still an active mining community from the day they discovered gold here.
This here is the Gold Bottom mine site, one of a number still operating in the area, and my chosen scenic free choice tour for today.
So why is it called Gold Bottom?
Well, there was a community here called Gold Bottom, and it's called Gold Bottom because that's Gold Bottom Creek over there, that valley. There was a community of 5,000 people lived here. So there was hospitals, there was churches, there were Northwest Mounted Police were here.
Gold mining is certainly not for the faint-hearted, no siree. This here is hard work, especially in these conditions.
The ground is frozen here all year round, every year, so it's called permafrost. So in order to get down to the pay gravel, we have to go through the permafrost. So if you see the tree level there, that's the original valley floor. So all of this was dirt, and we moved it all.
There are so many processes involved in finding those precious specks among the tons of dirt and rubble.
Oh my God, there is so much. Oh my goodness.
So there's about 1.5 ounces of gold in there.
Ain't she pretty? I gotta go.
Oh, if only it were that easy.
Oh.
And then you go like this. I hold it under the water, and I rake it back. Then I tip my pan back, grab a handful, make sure there's no nuggets.
Okay. Got you. Do you ever get a sore back doing this? gotta be so patient.
Never! Oh, God. You see any gold? Oh, my God. Okay, you can stay.
Welcome back, y'all, to Dawson City, a town in Canada's far north that is unlike anywhere I have ever been.
There's really nothing like Dawson City anywhere else in the world, is there?
It seems like, yeah, it keeps this very specific spirit of the gold rush time. And well, you have to think about it. It lasted for only 2 years, and then the people left. And I think that they thought that this town would be dead after it, but we're still here, and it's bustling with young people, and like, we're still here, we're still mining, we're still celebrating, partying.
Less than 2,000 people now live in Dawson City, a remote outpost just a couple of hundred k's south of the Arctic Circle. It is a stop on Scenic's Winter Wonders journey.
What do you love about it?
It's quirkiness, it's wonderful mix of people. You have the gold miners, you have very young artsy people, you have a lot of musicians and painters, and I love how all this connects and has this very, very specific Dawson spirit to it.
You know, you would think that in a town of around 1,400 people, the nightlife wouldn't be that good. I would have thought fresh air, early to bed. Oh no, not in Dawson City. In the summer months, the numbers swell by the thousands and things go off at night. Well, I can't really say at night because right now it's about 8:30. So the show is about to start at Diamond Tooth Gertie's Gambling Hall. Right, let's get in.
This here is Canada's oldest casino. Yep, the original gambling hall opened in 1971. There's a show 3 times a day inspired by the madam of the day, Gertie Lovejoy. Now that's a name.
So Diamond Tooth Gertie's was an actual person back during the gold rush days. Legend has it she was a former showgirl and she would actually get up on the stage with a diamond between her teeth, and she went on to be one of the great madams of Dawson City.
Like the rest of Dawson City, Gertie's is a tribute to the area's gold rush history. From here, you can take your pick of pubs or bars. There's one on pretty much every street corner. But I am headed for the downtown hotel to test out a very obscure local tradition.
I don't want to do it.
Too bad, you're committed. You're in the hot seat.
Each night, the crowds roll up and report to the toe captain for the honour of drinking a sour toe cocktail. A drink with a real human toe in it.
It's a hammer toe.
The hammer.
It's deformed. It had to be removed. This person could probably be still alive. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You better be. Be warned. The toe must not enter the mouth, or be bitten, chewed, or God forbid, swallowed, or it's a 25 fine. And so in light of the above, you can drink it fast. You can drink it slow. But your lips must touch this gnarly toe. Just your lips.
Go, go!
Go, 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 go.